Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How are you? It's another great Sunday. Welcome to my home. Welcome to the office. And welcome to the morning grind. I've got the Kings of War book here, the Kings of War Vanguard book. I was really enjoying this one, so we're going to continue to take a look at Vanguard this morning. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. I see Doc Flamingo's here. And Better with Bacon, Mike is here. Good morning. Good morning. Stray's here. Good morning, Stray. Great to see everybody. Let's see. What is going on? So our main topic is War of Kings Vanguard. I did get approval from this is the Kickstarter update. So I did get a notification from the printer that the digital files for Cthulhu ABCs that I sent were approved, so they could be printed. I could get the proof of that, but I did realize that there was something that I forgot to include on the cover. So I'm going to re-upload the cover. I'm probably going to do that today, but I wasn't going to order it until I had all of the Cthulhu, the Cultist RPG files ready, which they are actually almost ready. So I'm anticipating being able to upload all of those today. So best case scenario is they'll be uploaded today. I mean, I don't know what would happen that that couldn't be done by like tomorrow or something like that. I'll re-upload the Cthulhu ABCs, and then in I don't know, a few days, I guess I will get approval of those, assuming there isn't any kind of problem, and then be able to press the button on those in order to order them, order the proof, and it will take about 2 weeks for the proof to get here. But at least that part will be out of my hands. And then we'll check the proof and be sure that that's, exactly right, and then we can move on. So the books are almost laid out. I just sent in a whole bunch of information for basically kind of the initial contact to the shirt printer. So the shirt printer is also now contacted. I didn't do that last week because I was working on the book layout. That took a little while. I was intentionally very advanced with the book layouts before the Kickstarter started, but we added some material, and so it took a little while to actually get everything right. And of course, also had some things to work through with the program, but I figured all that out. So now I'm talking to the printer. So I haven't sent any files over there, but just discussion about what it is that I'm looking for, all of that. Of course, before we print that, I'll have to send out either the survey or the pledge manager, which we were talking about last time. So that's where I am. So that's all good. If I send the stuff to the shirts, things like stickers, okay, then I can send stickers in. That one probably won't be that big a deal. But anyway, so moving right along with that. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to finish that project and then move on. Because I was working this morning. I tend to sleep biphasically. When left to my own devices, yes, I get up in the middle of the night and will work for like an hour and a half or something like that. Did that today. I'm continuing to be impressed by Gemini. I was sitting here trying to work on prototyping things. We'll talk about it later, but I was prototyping things, like a visualizing prototypes in Google Gemini, using Gemini. I've used a lot of Gemini lately. I used a lot of Chat GPT, and I still do, but I've moved over to Gemini quite a bit. And I was working with it this morning for about an hour and a half, doing some visualizations of prototypes of other products. And wow, I mean, that is so cool. I mean, to be able to sit down and prototype a new product or something with Gemini, I know for a fact that getting what I got today in probably, I don't know, how long did it take? I don't know, maybe I was working about an hour this morning, who knows? In order to get to that part, it probably would have taken weeks. Like if you had to, it probably would have been a week's long effort to get to something like this, to like this prototype visualization stage, because it probably would have had to have been made physically, because I used to do a lot of that. I used to be the one that did basically all of the prototyping for the company with my brother, and also Infinite Black, like making things out of cardboard, printing them up, things like that. Getting a prototype made in order to even be able to take a picture of it so that you could send it to somebody else for manufacturing and stuff. But now, you can just do that using like Google Gemini or something. So it's fantastic. All right. Let's see. Oh, I meant to show you something else. Hey, I got something else to show you before we go to Mantic's Vanguard. So hopefully everybody else is being just as productive. Let's see. Okay, come on now. No, there we go. Okay. So there we go. But I did want to show you something. I meant to show you this. Oh, hey, RPG Exile. I mentioned this in the Discord server. My brother asked me, hey, do you want these? I just found these in like a closet or something. And he was like, you want these, or should I just chuck them or whatever? And they were the original, they are original Star Wars action figures that my brother and I used to play with. So I said, no, I want them. I definitely want them. So I'm going to put them up, man. I need to come back there. Man, this looks terrible. So I need to like clean and reorganize my backdrop back here. But I'm going to put these on the backdrop. So I was like, yeah, I want them. If for nothing else, just to put on the live streaming backdrop, because that's fun. So these were, we would go and we would, like, this was like what we spent our allowance on. because we would go to the Lion and the Unicorn, and the Lion and the Unicorn had, of course, it also had all of the like Warhammer stuff and things like that. But at the time, we weren't really into Warhammer. But we would go to Lion and Unicorn, and actually, there may have been some other shop we went to originally. I think the Lion Unicorn was the sort of chain that came up later, if you call it a chain. But there may have actually, I think it was like an independent place that sprang up first. And for some reason, we found out that they had Star Wars. I don't remember. Well, I think we found out they had Star Wars action figures or something. But, we never bought any of them like in original packaging or whatever, but we would buy them loose. So these were all sitting out and they were sitting in the display case, and they would even let us come around the back and actually look at them and, pick them up rather than just having to look at them through the display case. So, we thought that was cool. We got to go behind the display case and they would let us look at them, pick them up, and decide on the ones that we wanted. So I think this is the ones that my brother and I had. And I don't remember what we, they weren't all that expensive, I don't think. So we were just spending our allowance on them. But like I said, they were loose and they probably don't have any of their original accessories. I remember that if they had their accessory, then it was more expensive or something. But we got an Ewok here. So I think these are the ones that my brother and I had. If you're just coming in, we're going to look at, I'll put the War of Kings right there. We're about to look at that. This is just a brief aside. Ewok here. Stormtrooper. And, the G.I. Joe weapons largely fit. So my brother had G.I. Joe characters. And so I think we would use G.I. Joe weapons for them. Han Solo. Admiral Akbar. I'm pretty sure I must have been the one to get Admiral Akbar. Greedo here. I like that Greedo. I like his head sculpt. Luke in X-Wing flight suit. Obi-Wan Kenobi. C-3PO. I think 2-1B was mine. I kind of like that one. So 2-1B here, the medical droid. That's pretty cool. Boba Fett. I don't remember who had him. Yoda. Luke in his black Jedi outfit here. I like this Jawa. Jawa right here. It's got wearing like pants, and this one, instead of wearing a cloak, it's wearing like those real fashionable, big flowy pants. Sometimes I see like women wear that to make it look like, am I wearing pants or am I wearing a skirt? That looks like what this Jawa is actually wearing here. A R2-D2 without any of his stickers on. And then this one, I noticed that she broke. I'm going to have to get some glue and put her back together. But this is Leia dressed up as the bounty hunter with Bosch. And I think, yeah, so I got to I'm going to get some super glue and put her head back on here. But let's see. I think that Leia's head is in here. I think this is a rubber mask, if I remember that correctly. Oh, yep, there we go. Okay, so Leia's head was inside there. So that one does have kind of an accessory, because that's pretty cool. That's the rubber bounty hunter's mask. So she can take off her mask. So I'm going to put that back in here, and I'm going to glue Leia's head, super glue Leia's head back on. I thought that one was cool. I remember actually this one I got in a stocking one year. Like when we got into this, I remember Mother put this one in my stocking. And then this one I think my brother had. He got some kind of vehicle right here. Let's make Luke drive it. Luke in his fighter pilot outfit, in his flight suit. I think this is a Hoth. This is supposed to be like a Hoth vehicle. And I think it's like one that's not ever shown on screen, but something else they made up. Oh, we move our weapons here. So I don't know. I don't remember what his name is or whatever. Probably didn't even know anyway, but some kind of Hoth vehicle. So I got those. So they're here now, and we'll go on to the background whenever I have time to clean that up. Hopefully soon. I got to clean up around here. So, all right, welcome everybody. Maybe that gave some people time to come in. I did post to Discord that we were taking a look at this game again today. So yeah, I know. I was like, there's no way that I wanted them to like get tossed or something like that. My brother and I played with those all the time. I mean, when we realized, hey, because at the time, there wasn't any other like production of Star Wars toys when we were kids. So the only way to get anything like that was to buy them loose, secondhand at that store. And we would play with those for hours and play Star Wars with them. Yes. So Better with Bacon is also a Gemini fan. Yeah, it does a lot. Okay. All right. So War of Kings. No, Kings of War. Kings of War. War of Kings is mine. Okay. I think we had just. And we talked about this, like we talked about engaging models behind obstacles. Probably we got to fatigue. Yeah, I remember like bracing. Bracing is a long action. Model prepares and steels itself for an attack. A model may turn to face any direction, but otherwise doesn't move or act in any other way. Its armor is improved by 1. 5 becomes 4+ from any attack coming from its front arc until the model is next activated. Place a brace counter next to the model as a reminder. So that's something you don't have to have a spear for. Breakaway. A long action. A model that is engaged by 1 or more enemy models may attempt to break away instead of using a melee action. So this is like, this reminds me of Warhammer Quest, because Warhammer Quest, you had to roll in order to get away from a foe. So you do that here. And I kind of like that. Like, to me, I think this is a better solution than an attack of opportunity. We talked about that, and BGD was talking about that too. Attack of opportunities can prevent movement on the board, and I like movement on the board. But on the other hand, can you just leave somebody who you're fighting? Well, maybe the solution is something like a breakaway. So a model that is engaged by 1 or more enemy models may attempt to break away instead of making a melee action. Make 1 unmodified armor roll. For each enemy model the activating model is breaking away from. So it's based on your armor. However, for each of these enemy models that's large, instead make 2 unmodified armor rolls. Models that are not down or ignored, as are any models that the model breaking away is wholly in the rear arc of. This model will suffer a wound for each failed save. If the model will suffer a wound, so that is kind of like actually in this case it is kind of like an attack. The model will suffer a wound for each failed save. If the model is still alive and standing, it makes a run action in any direction, following the normal movement rules. So that's almost like breakaway. That's almost like retreat. If you're trying, oh my god, I gotta get out of here. Because the opponent doesn't roll against you, but you're having to like roll a save. Oh, we didn't breathe in Sept, did we? I had just gotten water this morning. So let's breathe in Sept before we go here. I've got water this morning. Let's take 2 deep breaths, deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. So here we go. Let's breathe. And sip. All right. Mike says, yeah, automatic attacks of opportunity makes combat less dynamic. People tend to group up and stay grouped up when such a rule is employed. Yeah, so this one is kind of a hybrid, as it turns out, because you can be damaged. Because there's like some type, I don't think it's called breakaway, but there's some type of stat in Warhammer Quest that if you need to get away from somebody, you have to roll against it. So you're not sure that you can get away, but you may be able to. But I don't think there was a penalty. I think you just have to stay there in Warhammer Quest. In this, there's a penalty. And then you may die. So maybe this one is a little bit harsh. Or hard. I mean, it's definitely harsher than Warhammer Quest. Okay, fatigue. So this one even incorporates fatigue. I mean, this one's got a lot of material in it. I mean, and stuff going on this. So I would say this is definitely one of the more advanced ones. This one, like, I don't remember like fatigue in Mordheim. Mordheim. I mean, it's still just such a beautiful book. But yeah, this one is not lightweight. It's not a lightweight game. which is good. We've looked at a lot of light ones. This one's not automatic, right? You roll against it. Well, and it's not. I didn't see anything about, at least not yet, like an attack of opportunity that's moving by somebody. I'm going to move by somebody. Now you may have to stop. This was in here. Let's see. Models cannot move within 1 inch of any models unless they are engaging one of them. Okay, so models cannot move within 1 inch of any models unless they're engaging one of them over here on movement. So you, it's not like, hey, I'm going to move, I'm not going to touch you, but I'm going to move close enough to you, and I'm going to keep moving, and I get an attack of opportunity. I don't see that. This is like zone of control. A lot of older war games had like zone of control. So there's like a zone of control here that you can't move into unless you're going to engage them. Yes. Yeah, this is one of the best put together. Yeah. I wonder if Kings of War is like that. I have not. Well, no, wait a minute. I've got Kings of War. I don't know where that book is. We had it physical, right? Yeah. Kings. So this is, they've got it branded here, Kings of War Vanguard. So Kings of War, just Kings of War is their Warhammer Fantasy Battles style war game, with the 28 or 32 millimeter miniatures. So this is like a sub brand here, Kings of War Vanguard. So sometimes this is fatigue. Sometimes individuals in a warband will push themselves to make an extra yard of ground or fight a little bit harder. Such heroic efforts can come at the expense of exhaustion, however, or finding yourself exposed. During its activation, the model can be given an additional short action. This extra action may be taken after the model's normal action for the turn. It's known as a fatigue action, and the model is then marked with both activated and fatigued at the start of activation. At the start of its activation, once all its actions have and any attacks have been resolved. A fatigue action cannot be a repeat of an action the model already made this turn. This includes any free melee action as the result of a charge. A fatigue action can also be given to a model that is already activated by spending power as described below. This is known as forced fatigue. So we haven't gotten to that yet. See the table on page 20 for more details. A fatigue action cannot be given to a group, only to a single model. That is, you cannot combine fatigue actions with group actions. An activated member of a group may still receive force fatigued action later by spending power, however. If a model is marked as fatigued at the start of its activation, it may only perform one short action. In addition, it cannot have a further fatigue action played on it that turn. If a model is marked as fatigued at the start of its activations, it will only perform one short action. When do we clear that? Okay, I don't. So this is you take the fatigue action and get the marker. It may only perform one short action. In addition, it cannot have further fatigue actions played on it that turn, although it may have forced fatigue played on a later turn. Once the model's activation is complete, the model is marked as activated, and the fatigue counter it started the activation with is removed. So that seems like it carries over to the next turn. I guess that's what it's saying. So, because you do this and then mark it at the end of its activation. But then fatigue markers don't clear until the next turn. I believe that's what I see there. Hey, Charlie, good morning. Yeah, Mike says Vanguard is more like a Mordheim replacement, I think. I think it is. So when none of those games were being published, or neither of those games were being published, Kings of War was the Warhammer Fantasy Battles replacement. This is the Mordheim replacement. So standard power. So we got a table here. Okay, I forgot about these dice. Didn't the Sword Weirdos also have something about? No, that was maneuver points. That was maneuver points. Hey, good morning, Sable. Good morning. So no, Sword Weirdos had maneuver points. This has power points. And we were rolling these dice with these different sword symbols here. Each round, players have limited resources of power to spend to enhance the actions and abilities of their models. Do we remember how we rolled for that? It's been a little while. Let's see. You rolled, and then you got to re-roll if you have leaders or something like rolling for power. Yeah. At the start of each round, before any turns are taken, each player rolls their power dice. Create your pool of power dice by taking 3 red power dice and then adding any extra dice as indicated on your warband stat cards. Count only models that are still in play but not removed as casualties. These can be red, white, or blue. Red looks like the least. Blue, most powerful. Roll all of your power dice simultaneously, and you may re-roll one of your power dice for each model that has the command class. Okay. To help keep track of power, it's easiest to put the power dice to one side as you spend it. If you have a die result which shows a higher amount of power than you want to spend, simply turn the die to the amount remaining. Spending power. Players may spend their power to purchase various options or activate special abilities. These might be specific to a model or warband or one standard use from the opposite table. So our standard uses include things like power cost 1 plus 1 model activation. Activate a second model that has not yet been activated. Because you're going back and forth with one model and one model, right? That's a good point. I wonder, we could probably find, that's probably something that we could Google. Yeah, I wonder if you can still get these power dice. Activate, you're going one model. So this is plus 1 model activation. Plus 1 die, add 1 bonus die to any of your shoot, cast, armor saves, or melee rolls. Forced fatigue activation. So we were reading about that. Forced fatigue activation. 1 power may be spent to give any single model that has already activated this round a fatigue short action. The model chosen cannot already be fatigued. Going back to a model to give its fatigue action this way is done instead of activating a model, normally for a turn. For the purposes of any rules or abilities, it is considered an activation of the model. A forced fatigue action bought like this with its power can be a repeat of an action the model has already performed earlier in the round. A player may continue to buy forced fatigue actions during the round even if all their models have activated normally until they declare they are finished for the round. Clear fatigue. 2 is group defense, group action. The members of the group each make a walk and then a brace action. Group shoot, that's a group action, 2 power points. The group members may either walk then shoot or shoot then walk. Group assault, run and then engage. And then plus warband specific stuff. So using powers, you can activate a group of models together. All models in the group must have already been activated, must not have been activated this round. All models in the group must not have been activated this round. So this is kind of also going to we had the groups, and I forget which one that was that we looked at. So we don't have like units here, but we can activate them by groups. It's kind of like a hybrid. The fate dice, I don't think it doesn't kind of look, I don't think these look like fate dice. I mean, we got 3 different ones here, obviously. I don't think they're fate dice. Participating in a group action replaces a model's normal activation for the turn. Oh, that's why it can't have activated. So it's like, okay, they're all going to, walk up or run and brace themselves or something. All models are marked activated when this happens. To make a group action, nominate a model and then up to 2 more models within 3 inches of the first model. The selected models form the group. Some models have special abilities that are also group actions. The model with the special ability must be the nominated model of the group in order to use the ability. Participating in a group action replaces a model's normal action for the turn. You cannot activate a single model, move it to join a group, and then execute a group action. The common group actions available to all models and warbands are listed on the opposite side. Some models have special abilities, like this one right here. It says draw dark power 1. So there's this 1 power point. Use this ability when taking a cast action. Draw something, the model to cast a long action as a spell as a short action, something. As well as warband special abilities. Movement. Moving your models around the battlefield is a vitally important part of the game if you want to ensure you have the right models in the right places doing the right job. Unless stated otherwise, models can move in any direction and turn as many times as they wish. So they can turn as many times as they wish, move in any direction, but once they're set, their facing does matter. Use a tape measure along so you get free change of facing, which that doesn't bother me. I remember that's how MERP was. Like, you got free change of facing moves, I'm pretty sure. Something more complicated is like the GURPS advanced combat rules, where you're on a hexagonal grid and you actually have to pay for facing. Facing a direction you want. They cannot change facing after the action is over. Unless a model is moving to engage an enemy model, it may not move within 1 inch. Models cannot move through any other models, including friendly ones. We got a demonstration of, front to front, not front to back here. Cannot leave the playing surface. Models ending their movement with their base touching an obstacle, such as a wall, must align one side of their base to be flush with it, right here. Models that have been knocked down are simply placed on the side where they stood. They lose any brace condition they had and are considered to be half their normal height, rounded down. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. They're half normal height when laying down for line of sight purposes. They are still engaged as if they were. They are still engaged if they were before any standing models. They are still engaged if they were before by any standing models. Standing models in contact with a knockdown model are not engaged by that model, so can cast spells or make ranged attacks against it, as well as make a melee attack against it if they wish. So standing models in contact with something knocked down are not engaged, but the knocked down person is. Any attacks against a model that's knocked down are considered to be from its rear arc. All models that are knocked down and lying on the ground must stand up before it can take other actions. Players may not wish to lay their painted models on the table, or there might not be enough space. In that case, you may use a marker to indicate its status. Okay, so Mike has the information we're looking for right here. Mike says, according to the internet in a quick search, red dice you can earn a max of 2 power, white dice have a max of 2 power, but are more likely to do so. Blue dice max of 3 power, but do not know the faces. A red die, you can earn a max of 2 power. So this has 1 sword and 1 sword. So there must be a 2 sword on the red. And then at least 2 if it's more likely on the white. To have 2 different swords on there. And then here's definitely a 3 sword. And I see a 2 sword right here on the blue. Sable says, never a big fan of spending action points to change facing unless it's a vehicle. Aerospace needs a turning radius. Mechs tank need to spend an AP to change facing. Infantry can face any cone out of the hex. I think that's a good way to do it if you've got all these different ones. Like in GURPS, though, when you're doing advanced combat, you take a look at your speed. I think what I was thinking about is depending on how fast you're running, your character ends up with a turn arc of hexes, which is who remembers that? Who possibly remembers that? I mean, I wouldn't. Like, well, let's look up your turn arc because you're actually running. Your character is running. Moving up and down stairs, there's no penalties. Models can climb up or down ladders, counting the height of the ladder in inches as part of their movement. Models can climb up or down surfaces the players have agreed require it, counting in height in inches of the surface. Being scaled is difficult terrain and part of their movement. In either case, you must reach the top or bottom by the end of the activation. Models cannot stop partway up a wall, ladder, or other surfaces during a climb. A model, maybe this is a practical matter, a model that would end its movement at the top or bottom of the surface being climbed is considered to have successfully moved between the levels and is placed on the appropriate end, with no further movement allowed as part of the action. The model and position of the action cannot be performed. There must be sufficient room to place the model in position or it cannot be performed. Models that have the class Beast or with the special rule Cavalry cannot climb. dropping and falling down. Vertical surfaces, models can safely drop down their height in inches without taking any injury instead of a controlled climb. This movement can be voluntary, dropping to a lower level, or involuntarily, like being pushed. A vertical distance is counted as part of the model's movement. Models dropping further than their height or are falling and take in hits with crushing strength in, where in is the difference in inches between the model's height and the distance to the ground. So there's a lot that has to do with height here. Well, yeah, in the hexes and GURPS, they're 1 yard. Battletech hexes, yeah, you're working with like 90-meter hexes, then yeah, Battletech hexes, Sable says, are 90 meters. No, hex and GURPS is 1 yard. So height really matters a lot here. So thus, a height 2 model pushed down a 4-inch wall will take 2 hits from falling, each with crushing strength 2. A height 1 model moving down the same wall would take 3 hits from falling, each with crushing strength 3. A model that takes any wounds from falling ends its action and is knocked down. See the special rule in 38 for details on crushing strength. Likewise, you can jump. A model can jump across the gap at the same level that are equal to or less than half of its speed value in inches, but must make a test against its speed value to do so and have sufficient movement to land in place on the opposite side. Roll D8. If the result is equal to or under the model's speed value, the model successfully jumped the gap and may continue to move to the other side. Otherwise, the model falls into the gap and may take damage as a result. The falling model is placed on the level it lands, directly below the point the jump was attempted from. Note that for this test, a roll of 8 is always a failure and a roll of 1 is always a success. See, now that's different from, installing command, because that's the card game you're talking about, right? So here is our line of sight. So we just have front and rear. We don't have flanks here. So we haven't gotten into that. I mean, I remember like the old school games that are like shielded and unshielded sides. So models in Vanguard are mounted on square bases, with the back of the base defined as the rear arc of the model. To make it obvious which is the back edge, model should be glued to their base clearly facing one of the straight edges. A model can potentially see anything in its front arc, subject to line of sight. Line of sight to anything wholly in the model's rear arc is considered blocked. Line of sight, even if something is in the front arc, you may not have line of sight to it. Bird's eye view. If your model is drawn, if your model can draw an uninterrupted line from anywhere on its base to the whole of the enemy model's base, then you have clear line of sight. So if you can draw an uninterrupted line from anywhere on its base to the whole of the enemy model's base, you have clear line of sight. In most cases, it will be obvious if a model has line of sight to something or not. In cases where it isn't, however, the model and terrain have a height, which can be used to check for line of sight. As a general rule of terrain, each 1 inch of height is equivalent to 1 point of height. For models, the height is listed on their cards. Models that are knocked down, so like what is the height of a standard guy? Like 1 inch or so, 2 inches? River Guard, height 2. I guess that looks like goblins be height 1, which seems to make sense. Okay, Phoenix Dawn Command is a deck builder. I thought that you were talking about a deck builder RPG. Yeah, some kind of card game, deck building game. Mike says they have power dice as well. So they have the power dice as well, which are 6-sided but have different values. So red is 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I have 2. So red, yeah, is 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. White is 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2. And then blue is 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. Thank you, Mike. Oh. Laying down. Oh, no. Just 1 second. Laying. Excuse me again. All right, let's see if I can talk now. Okay, I can talk. Half height for laying down. If a model is standing on, not in terrain, they add the height of the terrain to their height when determining line of sight. A model standing in an area of forest would not add the height of the forest, but a model standing on the first floor of a building would add the height of the floor to its height. Blocked and partially blocked. Obviously, on the battlefield, there are many obstacles and pieces to cover that enemy may use to protect themselves. The height system is used to determine whether you still have line of sight or you can draw an uninterrupted line. Line of sight from your model to an enemy model is considered blocked if a line to all parts of the enemy base passes through a model or terrain piece of the same height as your model, and the enemy model does not have greater height than the blocking item. A blocking model or blocking terrain piece the same height as the enemy model. However, this may be ignored if your model has a greater height than the blocking item and is within 3 inches of the blocking item. If line of sight to an enemy model traces through more than 3 inches of difficult terrain that is equal to or greater than its height, line of sight is blocked. If a line of sight to an enemy passes through more than 3 inches of difficult terrain that is equal to or greater than its height, line of sight is blocked. Okay. Partially blocked if only part of the enemy model's base is in position that would be considered blocked. The enemy is behind or blocking an item but has greater height. Is behind a blocking item but has greater height. An enemy model that is within an area of difficult terrain that is at least height 1. The enemy model is 3 inches or less within difficult terrain of equal to or greater than height. See, this one is probably not going to be what the nephew should pick up first. I like it. We have illustrations of blocked and partially blocked. Let's figure out how to make the attacks. Ranged attacks. Okay, getting into combat here. Whether your models are firing with bows, throwing knives, or hurling arcane explosives, or casting deadly spells, the following rules will explain how to resolve such attacks. Ranged attacks are made due to shoot or cast actions. Unless specified otherwise, a model may only fire one weapon or cast one spell at a single model with its actions. The target of a ranged attack must be in range and have line of sight to the firing model. Measure the distance from the base of the firing model to the base of the target's model at the closest points. If the distance is equal to or less than the range of the weapon, the target is in range. You may only make shoot actions if you have a number of dice specified on their stat and are equipped with a ranged weapon. If a model is missed out on its ranged stat, it may not make a ranged attack or be given any type of ranged equipment. If a model may not fire at another model that is engaged with a friendly model, a model that is engaged itself may not make ranged attacks. A model that has more than one type of ranged attack, the player using the model must state which one's being used. Okay. If the model has clear line of sight to the target model, the firing model receives one bonus die to its roll. Okay, so if the firing model has a clear line of sight to the target model, the firing model receives one bonus die to add to its roll. So if it's like partially blocked, then you don't get that, I guess. If the firing model is standing on terrain that is elevated the model's height to 3 or more height levels higher than the target model, the firing model receives a +1 modifier to the roll. So once again, height is important here. For example, a height 2 model standing on a height 3 piece of terrain has a total height of 5. It will gain +5 modifiers when shooting at models with a height of 2 or less. +1 modifier. Did I say that? +1 modifier when shooting at models with a height 2 or less. Each die that equals or better than the range stat of the firer or casting model scores 1 hit on the target. The exploding 8 mechanism is used with the 8 result automatically scoring 1 hit. So we'd have exploding dice. I remember that. The owner of the target model then rolls 1 die for each hit scored. For each die that equals or beats the target's armor value, 1 hit is ignored, saved. The exploding 8 mechanism is used with each 8 result automatically saving 1 hit. So you do explode on defense as well. Finally, the target model suffers 1 wound for each unsaved hit. This takes the following, if it takes the target to 0 wounds or less, check the following conditions. If the model's class is Grunt, it is removed from the table as a casualty and plays no further part in the game. Otherwise, a model on 0 or fewer wounds must now make a nerve check, see page 33. If the model has taken more wounds than it has remaining, the difference is used to modify the nerve test. For example, a model with 1 wound suffers 2 wounds. The nerve test is a -1 modifier. If the test is passed, the model survives with 1 wound remaining, but is marked as fatigued, if not already. The model is additionally knocked down. Too much damage. If the test has failed, the model is removed from the table as a casualty and plays no further part in the game. If the firer's model base is wholly in the rear arc of the target model, the target gains piercing 1 and increases the N value of 1 by the ranged attack if the ranged attack already has the piercing special rule. Remember, if the target is knocked down, the attack is considered to be from the rear arc. So armor piercing, so I guess that reduces the armor roll. Well, here's an example. It says, example, player A's model takes a shoot action at player's B model. The model is determined to be within the range of the weapon and line of sight to the target, and the target is clear. The shooting model's ranged section says it rolls 2d8, and the model rolls an extra die, 3, for having a clear line of sight. The model has a range stat of 5+. Player A rolls 3d8s and scores 2, 6, and 8. The exploding 8 means another die is rolled, which scores 4. In total, the target is hit twice, the 6 and the 8, because we have that range score of 5+. Player B now rolls 2 dice for the armor save on the target. The target's model is armor save is 6+. The die score is 6 and 7, so 1 is saved, but the other one scores a wound. So there we go. Oh, Mike says, I mapped out the power dice to D6s and in Discord and put the information in it about the facing there as well for posterity. Thank you. D8s for every hit die feels very OSR. Well, this one does use all D8s. Well, I mean, not the power dice, but we talked about that, which I happen to like. So you're rolling a lot of D8s here. But yeah, that does feel like hit dice. Which I like that better than, I mean, Mordheim used D6s, and I did love playing Mordheim. But D8, I like D8s here. Melee attacks, how does that go? Base-to-base contact. 1 enemy model. If it is engaged with the model in its front arc, the owner of the attacking model chooses what enemy is being attacked if it's engaged with more than 1 enemy model. Before the dice are rolled, the attacking player may turn their model on its center to face any direction, so long as it remains in base contact with all the same enemy models. And there's still room to fit the base with the new facing. Oh, so you get a free change of facing there. Before your combat dice are rolled, the attacking player may turn their model on the center. So if you're surrounded, you don't have to stay and you're trying to attack the guy behind you, you can turn around. If a model has more than 1 type of melee attack, the player using the model must state which one is being used. Rolls the number of dice on the melee section of the card. Modifiers and bonuses. If the attacking model charged into the melee this turn, it gains +1 bonus die, unless the target model is defending an obstacle or the charging model moved through difficult terrain or over an obstacle. If the target model is knocked down, the attacking model gains a +1 modifier. If 1 or more other friendly models that are not knocked down or fatigued are also engaging the model, the attacking model gets a +1 bonus die, adds +1 bonus die. Each die that equals or betters the melee number of the attacking model causes 1 hit on the target. Exploding 8 mechanism is in effect. Then we go to armor roll, which looks about the same with the ranged. Exploding 8s are in effect here. Roll equal to or better than your target. You're getting 1 wound for each unsaved hit. Grunts are, if the model class is grunt or it is already knocked down, it is removed from play. Otherwise, you go to that same table, which is you can be knocked down and fatigued or be removed from play. If the attacking model's base is wholly in the rear arc of the target, when the move to engage is declared, The result of the attack gains crushing strength 1, or increases the end value of 1 by a melee attack if it already has crushing strength. Remember, if the target is knocked down, the attack will be considered to be from the rear arc. If the defending model is on the other side of an obstacle and the attack is in the front arc, its armor is improved by 1 for this armor roll, as if it were braced. A model already braced will still receive this bonus. Sable says Warhammer, both versions, is all D6s, with the only variables what number is on the D6. Whether you get to re-roll a die or cancel an effect might be a contributor to its popularity, but also doesn't give you a whole lot of flexibility. Yeah, I think the D8s give you better flexibility. I was mentioning that's why we use D8s when my brother and I designed Enchantress. Yep, I mean, pretty straightforward there. We're not counting up. We're not doing any kind of count up. We're not doing hit points, I noticed. Or count up of wounds. If you're not a grunt, then you're either going to be knocked down or taken out, and then you return to 1 wound. If a model kills its enemy and there are no other models in base-to-base contact with it, it may make a free follow-up move up to 3 inches into its front arc, following the normal movement rules. However, when making a follow-up move, the models are allowed to move within 1 inch of enemy models, but they cannot contact or engage with them. These models will often be fighting in tight conditions and will have to remain closer than normal to their enemies out of necessity. Models in a group assault action that kill their enemies and are no longer engaged can each make a free follow-up move. If a model kills its enemy and it's still engaged with other models, it may be turned to face any direction so long as it is able to physically fit. Oh, but now we do have retaliation here. Retaliate. A model that has been attacked in melee and has survived now has a chance to retaliate and attack back. The intention to retaliate is declared after the attack is resolved. If the model is being attacked by more than 1 enemy, for example, as part of a group action, the intention to retaliate is declared after each attack in turn before the next one is resolved. A model that is knocked down or is already both activated and fatigued cannot retaliate in melee. Therefore, a model may retaliate a maximum of 2 times during a round. To retaliate, the model's turn, so the enemy model is retaliating against must be in its front arc. If there's no room to turn the model, it cannot retaliate. Then it makes a melee attack against its opponent as described above, resolving the attack and then checking the following conditions to see which one applies. If the retaliating model is not already marked as fatigued, mark it fatigued. If the retaliating model has not already been activated this round, mark it as such with an activation model. If a retaliating model, so this is also kind of like the other one where we're trying to keep from being hit multiple times. If retaliating model kills its opponent, it is no longer engaged with any models, it may make its follow-up move. Models can't retaliate against a retaliation. Once both models have struck blows, the melee action is over. Mike says, D8s keep the possibilities contained, but offer more usable ranges than the D6. I assume that's why they went with D8s. Sables, I also love D10s. D10s are my favorite personal type of dice, but I love the D8s. Maybe I'm just a geek and want something other than the cube math rock. And no, before you ask, I'm not a World of Darkness player. I fell in love with D10s thanks to the R&K system of 7th Sea. I mean, and being that the D10s, match to percentages real easy. Oh, nerve tests. Okay. So then we get into terrain, special rules. How are we going here? How much do we have? We might have to do a 3rd day. We've got magic here. There's a lot of magic here. Yeah, I'm not going to go through like all of the stuff on like creating a warband, but I do want to kind of look through that. But let's check out the nerve tests. A model's nerve value is a representation of its morale, willpower, and self-control. If things start to go wrong or an individual is required to do something they aren't comfortable with, it must take a test of nerve to overcome it, or the warband will struggle to act as a coherent fighting force. If the rules say a model must make a nerve test, roll a single die and apply any modifiers given. If the result is equal to or better than the model's nerve stat, the test is passed. If it's under the nerve stat, it is failed. Warband morale. If a warband is broken if it has less than half the number of starting models remaining by model count. Determine if a warband is broken at the start of each round. If a warband is broken, each unengaged model in the warband must make a fallback check the first time it activates in the round by performing a group action. If performing a group action, use the nerve value of the model nominated for the group to make the fallback check. To make a fallback check, simply make a nerve test. If a test is passed, the fallback check is successful and the model or group may be activated as normal. If the test is failed, the fallback check is not successful and the model or group must make a special fallback action this turn. See below. If a group fails the fallback check, all group members must make a fallback action and must finish their move within 3 inches of each other. Power must be spent on the group action before any fallback check is made. A fatigued model that fails its fallback check is marked as fatigued again after the fallback action. It does not lose its marker. I'm not sure the Panache trait. I am not familiar with that either. Let's see, fallback. A model making a fallback action must move toward its own table edge as defined by the scenario being played, along as direct a path as possible and as far as possible, up to twice its speed in inches. If there is more than one fallback edge defined for the warband, use the closest. A retreating model cannot engage enemy models, and normal movement rules apply. Its activation is then complete. Mark it activated. Models that fall back may not have fatigue actions or special abilities placed on them during their activations. Powers may be spent to give a model a forced fatigue action later, however, without having to make another fallback check. A model that is falling back reaches the edge of its table. It must make another fallback check immediately. If the test is passed, the model stops and is marked as activated. If it fails, it moves from the board as a casualty. It is removed from the board as a casualty. If a model that is knocked down must fall back, it will first stand up and then make a walk action toward its own table edge. Terrain, open ground, obstacles, difficult terrain, impassable terrain, terrain heights again. So walls, hedges, fences, and areas of low-lying ruins are 1. Gentle hill, 2. Wood, 5+. Single-story building, 4. Two-story building, 6. Yeah, that works. I mean, that also is like breaking and routing in Warhammer. At least the edition I played. I don't remember. I guess there were rules about breaking in a warband in wartime. I guess let's stop at special rules. We got special rules and then magic. And then we do have creating a warband here. And they've got, it looks like a lot. We've got scenarios, but I think over here, that's scenarios. But I think it's got your army lists in here, which is what I was looking at before, which is nice. All right. Well, all right. So I guess there will be a part 3 on Vanguard. I'm liking this one. It's obviously the most advanced one that we've looked at so far. All right. Well, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to do some work here. Maybe I'll be able to get all of that uploaded for the Kickstarter and stuff. So everybody have a wonderful day. Go forth, be creative, be constructive, and grind on. I'll see you later, everybody.